Hey guys, real quick before the video starts, I want to give you a heads up that the episode you're about to watch right now is part of the Ammo Training Academy 300 series, where we focus on creating freedom through financial independence as a professional detailer. It's an absolutely unbelievable course, but this is just one episode out of 90 that have never aired, have never been seen before. If you want more information, visit the ammotrainingacademy.com. Use code ATA50 at checkout for 50% off your course enrollment. If you have any questions, you guys know where to find me. Larry at AMMONYC.com. I'll see you soon. Okay, so ATA 200, we talked about everything you could ever imagine when it comes to polishing the paint, what you can do, the top 15 mistakes. There's a million things that we talked about, right? So one of the things that I got back from people, one of the comments was, hey, this was unbelievable. It was like the encyclopedia of polishing paint. However, if you had to boil it down to just one thing, what's the one thing that we could take away from, I don't even know, it was like 20 hours worth of film or whatever, what would it be? So my question to you is, what's the one thing?
Well, the same realm where people would watch that and be essentially overwhelmed by information, good information, but it's a lot to take in. We also chit-chatted back and forth about what was the single biggest thing that impacted our polishing careers, right? And after 30 minutes of discussion, time and time again, it came back to residue control.
Right.
It is the single biggest thing that you can adjust that will have the largest impact on polishing performance.
I would say a lot of people have asked me that as well, but I wanted to make sure I got you on camera for this piece we're doing for the training seminar here. When you said residue control, I said, okay, cool. It sounds like, or residue management or whatever the word was at that point.
Right.
I just said, okay, that sounds interesting, great, let me hear more. For me, what drove it home is if we pretend that this is a piece of wood, right? This paint right here, and someone was coming in and sanding it, and like, okay, your mind can kind of wrap around that.
Yeah.
And as soon as you're sanding it, you have the sawdust, right? It gets on your shirt and your clothes, it smells great when you walk into like a wood shop or a cabinet shop, and like, oh, that smells great. And you said, hey, that concept, that's similar. It's not the same exact thing, but it's similar in conceptually speaking, that whatever you're sanding with that 1,000 grit disc or whatever it is that they're doing, it's coming up in the air. But if you notice, like Rupes, they have the hoses that are attached to the orbitals, right? The sanders.
That will vacuum up and eliminate the debris or the residue.
That concept, I guess what I'm saying is when like, boom, my head exploded and I said, oh my gosh, that's really what's happening here. So dive as deep as you can into that process, because I think if that's all they take away from this, this is the update to 200 where most people said, hey, how can we summarize this? That was so great, but like, how do I take that one nugget away? Let's take a deep dive into residue control.
Well, we have to talk about residue is more than one thing. Originally, I would think of paint oxidation, or the paint that I was grinding away while I polished. That was the paint residue. But there's also other residues, even when woodworking. If I was to take a panel off of a finished piece of a cabinet and say, here, sand this, well, there might be some waxing on there that was done monthly or twice a year. That's residue, right? You could get into the staining or the oiling of it. Those are residues too. So just like that, yes, we're dealing with automotive paint, but if we're not yet polishing the paint because we can't tell there's an invisible layer of protection, wax, polymers, sealants, silicones, because they're invisible to see to the eye. Even though you use a panel wipe or a wax and grease remover, or even if you had scrubbed it for a little while by hand or with a machine, you still could be polishing on an invisible layer of protection that is diminishing the cut and affecting how your pad performs. So many factors, right?
So like when you walk up to paint, like if you look at this old Datsun right here, like clearly before and after, okay, fine. In our experience, you're going to look at that, and I think even beginner details, you'll be like, wow, there's probably a lot of junk that's going to come off that. So if I take this car away and we have a brand new Ferrari or whatever, we've never seen it before, it didn't come out of the factory, and it comes in as a customer, you walk up to it, what's the first thing that you're thinking of in your mind? Is it residue? Like, is there something clear on it? Like, how do you approach that?
Yeah, I think that that is one of the first things that I'll do a feel, and if it's very slick to the touch, that could be normal, right? It could be brand new paint, but generally speaking, even brand new paint that is fresh or naked, that you coined that term, where there's nothing on the surface of the paint.
Virgin paint,
Yeah, it does have a little bit of tactile or drag to it. So the first thing you could do is, mist the panel, make sure that the loose dirt or debris is eliminated, wipe that off, and then do a soft touch with one of your fingertips, and if you feel it still very slick, there's a good chance that there is a protective layer on that paint.
Do you think I'm throwing this a fastball to you right now, I guess a curveball. Do you think you should just assume that there's always residue on every surface? Is that a safe way of doing it?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to think about things. Of course, we don't want to continue to polish and polish and polish. Say, man, Kevin and Larry said if it feels slick to the touch, there's probably something on it, so I should keep going. Well, that would be a mistake,
right.
Obviously. You got to use some sense, common sense, or say, hey, this is...
At some point, you break through that residue.
Yeah, at some point, you're going to grind it away.
Right.
Right. And the other thing to consider is you can't see that when you break through. There's not always a discernible difference in the visual effect of grinding away wax, polymers, silicones, coatings, right? Coatings is a big one because you could feasibly, nowadays you could back and forth polish on coating for 10 minutes and not break through it. Some are extremely durable.
Yeah,
right?
You gave me the example, again, we're trying to hammer home this residue sort of concept. You gave me an example years ago. You were talking to a buddy, I can't remember his name or whatever, but he had this black Suburban that was, the lady drove it through. What was the story about that?
Well, there's a couple of good stories about that, but that particular one, a guy called me and said, hey, Kevin, I'm working on this black Suburban, and I didn't realize that they made a tinted clear, meaning they add a little bit of coloring into the clear. They do this on very exotic or very pretty vehicles, usually ruby reds or metallics, and they want to give depth and maybe minimize the haziness.
Because usually clear coat is clear,
and I said,
right?
They didn't do that on that vehicle.
So they added a little bit of like color to the clear. So now there's color of, let's call it ruby red, and now there's like a little hint of ruby red within the clear.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
Got it. All right.
So very translucent, right? So told him that was not a common thing. They never did that.
Right.
So he said, but I have a new pad, and as I polish with it, I'm pulling black on the pad. I said, okay, let's do our single one-way pass where we're going to apply some buffing liquid to the pad, and you're going to start on one spot and go left to right and stop and wipe. And we're going to do that until you're no longer pulling that black. And what it turned out to be was this vehicle had been weekly washed or twice a month washed in a tunnel wash that would apply the polymer spray, that extra $3 for that.
At the very end of the thing.
Yeah, what everyone thinks is so bad or not effective.
Yeah, ineffective.
It's extremely durable. It was extremely durable, and it was layered with dirt.
So basically, that was the residue on top, and he's kind of like grinding around on the top of it and couldn't get into it.
And he couldn't get a cut. He couldn't get a cut because as you have those types of residues, they encompass your abrasive grains and stall the cut.
Got it.
They coat your pad. Now, here's an example. This one here was used on a red vehicle, single stage paint. So as you polish, you're removing red paint. We can see that, and we would blow that clean or something like that.
It's very obvious, is what you're saying.
Very obvious.
Yes.
This one was used on a clear coat, and it has about as much residue as that one does, but it's invisible.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Now,
these are equally full of residue.
they're equally going to affect your rate of cut and your finishing ability when polishing.
One is visible and one
is not.
Got
And
it.
this could be actually clear paint, wax, polymer, silicones coating.
Got it.
Same thing. It layers that pad, making it ineffective or less effective, and it encompasses or it surrounds the abrasive grains or the polish. It mucks everything up. It dramatically affects it. The thing to remember is as you start polishing with a fresh pad and with a fresh application of buffing liquid, that's as good as it gets. Everything from that point on diminishes in performance and quality and effectiveness.
All right, so now we have residue. We've now discussed residue. We see we're going to approach it and think, okay, this may or may not have residue. Let's approach it and say, let's find out if it does. We do this test. Some can be, it comes out as a color, if it's red in this example or blue in this example, or it can come out, there's residue just like, but it's clear because on a brand new car, for example, if there's polymers. Now, what do I do? I now know that I have residue on this car that we're working on. How do I manage that? What do I do with that?
Well, you have to remove the residue as it comes off into the pad and then into the liquid.
Why?
Because if you don't, it's going to affect everything. It's contamination. It's debris.
So is it literally just like getting in the way of like touching the paint kind of thing? Like what's actually going on?
Well, yeah, if you had a single particle of abrasive grain, well, multiply that by 10,000 or 100,000 as you apply to the liquid. As that abrasive rolls across the paint and cuts some away, some of that paint residue or debris will surround that abrasive and make it ineffective, right? It smooths it out. The other thing that happens is it locks it into the pad, and it buries the pad face, the face of the pad, or the microfiber strings, or the wool strings, or the foam face, and it makes those so they're not giving the performance they were designed to do originally.
So the way that I, again, go back to this thing that blew my mind, which was the wood. So like, I've sanded wood, we've all sanded wood, and then you pick up the disc, and the disc is like covered.
Fully loaded.
Well, it's like, to me, I feel like it's blocking. It can't take any more food in. It can't take it. It can't eat. It can't chew anymore.
Right. And so then what happens is you say, "Wow, I'm not getting any cut. I'm going to be here all day. I think I'll go to a different compound, something more aggressive."
Right.
But all that really was happening was that was an effective polish, and it cut so rapidly it got itself buried in residue.
That right there was like, it was everything to me. So now that it's buried in residue, it's not working. What are the next steps? And talk a little bit more, because I think I stepped on you there when I said, how do you get rid of how do you remove the
debris, the contamination?
How do you get it out of there?
Well, we've found over the years the single most effective way is to blow out the pad using compressed air.
Right.
Now, not everybody has that. And there was a time I didn't do that either. Back in the day, we would use on a wool pad a metal spur that you'd spin the machine up, turn the rotary on, get the pad spinning, and you'd drag a screwdriver or a metal spur across that to knock out the debris.
Mechanically, like bang it out of there.
Mechanically agitate it so that it would fly away from the pad.
Right.
And it was okay, but you'd also start seeing black lines in your pad, which was metal.
Yeah.
Right. So you're actually dragging away. You're removing metal off of the object you're trying to remove the contamination with. Okay.
So you're essentially putting more contamination as you're removing.
That's true.
To some degree.
Yeah. And then when foam pads came out, the way we would clean those with a nylon bristle brush. And again, you're hoping that by dragging the nylon bristle brush across that pad, some of that debris will get knocked off and fly away.
Right.
Right. But then again, at high, you're running 2,000 RPM on a buffer with a nylon brush against foam.
Why is my nylon brush getting smaller
Right,
every year?
Yeah, exactly. Well, if we're going to get that critical, and we do need to with some of these cars.
Certainly on final polishing, like super perfect black paint.
Then you have to think of those things. So once again, if you can eliminate the debris by blowing out of the pad, it works better than vacuuming. It works better than taking a microfiber towel in one hand and running the pad against the machine, which is the next effect.
I would say that's number 2.
Yeah, I think. And then far and away, the third or fourth best is to try to eliminate the debris by dragging something directly across the pad. That'd be my least favorite.
All right, so let's summarize here. Residue control, by far the one thing that you would take away. I mean, there's a million things that are great advice, but the one thing that you could stick in your pocket and kind of walk away and chew on for a little while is residue control. Summarize it in the last minute or so here.
Well, again, just to clarify that it affects the rate of cut, so how fast things cut, but it also affects the finishing potential. So if you have a very finicky paint, you could spend an hour or two, literally, trying to figure out how am I going to get this paint to finish out and not look hazy and scratchy. And in a lot of situations, it was the residue. As you started the polish, immediately the residue that was coming off the paint was encompassing the pad and causing it to scour.
This reminds me of, it just came to me, I called you about that black Porsche that I was doing, and we basically whittled down and watered down the product almost down to water. Because we didn't want so much cut. Why? Because even the lightest bit of polish was cutting so quickly, and the residue was coming off so fast, it was sticking to the pad, and I couldn't get a finish on this black.
Glazing over the pad, now you're skimming paint on paint. So we actually had to go to a process, in your case, extreme, one of 1,000, where we had to rinse away by a trigger bottle and a little bit of polish in it, and
basically water
spray
polishing.
as you were polishing. It was water polishing, but it was rinsing. It wasn't actually using the water as the polishing media. It was to rinse away any paint that was coming off. So that's an absolute extreme case.
But it's a wonderful example of saying an extreme situation, you're using water to blow away, a la or similar to the suction of the vacuum when you're sanding kind of process.
So once again, after thinking through the whole ATA series, hours and hours, and we understand that was a lot to take in. That's why if you're into wanting to digest these things and get them burned into your memory, then you should watch it and then do some work, come back and watch it again. You'll say, oh, that's why my pad was chattering and bouncing and hopping. I didn't know what to do. Now I know. Clean the pad, bump the speed up, decrease pad. There's so much technical in there that you will learn as you gain knowledge by actually doing the work, right?
But hang your hat on residue control. I think that one sort of, there's a trickle down effect to that. As always, thank you for being on and chatting a little bit with everybody and sort of summarizing this. Thanks for watching, guys, and on to the next one.